Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Agent of the Forecast, and I have not said that line since January 20th. I know it has been a while, and trust me, I've I've been very awful with posting videos. For the most part, I just haven't had a time. But I'm not even gonna lie. Like on weekends or days that I didn't have school or days where I did have time, for the most part, during this time period, have lost. I'd say I did lose a lot of motivation when it comes to posting videos. Not when it comes to weather, but when it comes to posting videos, I became very lazy. I was going through a lot mentally, with just personal life and uh, also, I've been, really focusing on myself lately when it comes towards, just working out, all that good stuff. So for the past almost 2 months, I have been focusing on other things, and I'm going to try to now to think about you guys instead of myself, and finally start to post on a regular schedule again. Like I said, I just lost the motivation for posting videos. Not that I lost motivation for weather, but I'm going to try to revive this channel because I know obviously a lot of other people are more consistent than me. So I've been seeing a visible decrease in my subscribers and views and all that. So I want to kind of come back towards my motto, which is posting daily. So I'm gonna try to do my best to get out with 10 a season. But yeah, I am back. So this is gonna be fun, and hopefully I can get back to a regular schedule. But enough of this nonsense. And in today's video, I'm gonna be talking about the upcoming chance for a significant winter storm. That's gonna be developing across basically low pressure in the south central, then making its way up towards the southeast and east coast. This is gonna be for the weekend, so kind of the 12th, which is Saturday, I believe, and the 13th on Sunday. So we're gonna be watching out as well, possibly as far south as even Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi can get some snow with this, as we're gonna be seeing a very significant, basically extreme Arctic blast coming in from Canada. But as of now, here we are looking at the National Weather Service, and you can see we do have a storm right now, or not right now, but we do have alerts for the next 48 hours along these areas in the west central and central United States. There's going to be warnings, advisories, and watches, and that's what we are going to be looking at for a storm even tomorrow, developing closer and sooner to now across the Northeast with a significant snowstorm that could bring in possibly maybe 6 to 8 inches across the area. So, as of now, we only have winter weather advisories along the Pennsylvania and kind of the Poconos area, northeast Pennsylvania as well, kind of more south central New York. But we do have a more widespread snowstorm across the south or the central United States. We do have newly issued winter storm watches for portions of southern Nebraska, northern Kansas, northwestern Missouri, and as well the eastern counties of Colorado. And then we have our, not so uncommon winter warnings at this time of the year for the kind of Cheyenne area, portion of the western Nebraska, and those higher elevation in the Pink counties, we're going to be seeing possibly over a foot. And then we have some pretty widespread advisories. So this storm's not going to really be on my radar. It's just going to be a kind of typical snowstorm. We're going to only drop a few inches in the more populated areas, but the storm I'm going to be talking about in this video is going to be a lot more significant, as well, a lot more widespread. And it's going to be involving the deep southeast as well. So it's going to be a lot more interesting when you're talking about windstorm in the southeast in March. So the first thing I want to look at is the 500 millibar height anomaly, because this is going to give us a better look at the actual weather setup and what's going to really bring the storm so far south, and why we're going to be seeing such a dramatic decrease in temperatures across the southeast. Because I'm just telling you, my high on Saturday is 39 degrees, and again, this is going to be March 12th. We're talking about March 12th. The high not getting out of the 30s is definitely pretty significant. I mean, it won't be rare if you see that in January or even last month, but March, I mean, we're seeing flowers and even green all over the place here already. So considering we're talking about snow and as well, highs not getting the 30s on Saturday is definitely pretty insane. But here's the overall setup. So again, we're gonna be seeing a pretty slow moving trough, a very weak trough. There's that kind of area of low. You can kind of see the little dip there in this a little dip here and the overall anomaly. So there you kind of see it right there. That's going to be seeing kind of that disturbance in the upper atmosphere in the 500 millibar. And it's going to kind of allow for the overall pretty cold air sitting across the western United or west central United States, which is why we have those advisories and warnings and watches where we have it right now. But as we now go towards basically Thursday, which is a bit, Thursday later this week, you're going to be seeing a much larger system developing now, coming in from Canada and making its way towards the Canadian-U.S. border. By Thursday, there you see that really strong kind of upper level low right here. And you can see we're going to be seeing pretty well below average temperatures in the 500 millibar height. Going to be seeing here to -3 degrees Celsius, kind of compared to the average. And as we continue, there you see this storm's going to really, or this system's going to really strengthen. You can kind of tell by how kind of positively tilted this kind of trough is. It's really kind of a sharp uh, elongation, or I say, I guess you say how it's kind of built in the way it's looking pretty strong with that kind of orientation. I was trying to think of the word orientation. That's what's pretty strong. You can kind of tell how close these isobars are kind of to each other. It's a really intense system. You're going to be seeing some really as well intense winds with this in the surface, obviously, but not really at 500 millibars. But you will be seeing those really strong winds at 500 millibar. But we really care about the surface. But there's that really strong upper level low. This is going to bring that really deep cold air, not only in the upper atmosphere, but obviously, of course, in the lower atmosphere. And it's going to be bringing in, obviously, eventually, this really strong vorticity we're going to be seeing is going to become lead towards the Rockies. That's going to allow for a pretty strong low pressure to develop, kind of the south central, kind of below that upper level low. And that's going to allow for some pretty strong system to develop. So you're going to be seeing a really strong low level convergence as well, pretty strong upper level divergence. So basically, you're going to be seeing a pretty strong low pressure developing, and it's going to get kind of pushed to the east. So this is going to be the surface low, and then follow. It's going to kind of follow kind of the path of this upper level low, which is going to dip dramatically, very dramatically into the deep southeast. So that's kind of why we're going to be seeing such a cold weekend, and that's what a windy weekend, because it's going to be a very strong trough here. I can show you guys the wind speed knots for in a quick second, but there's that really strong dip. There's that upper level low kind of right there, just north of the Great Lakes, and you can kind of see it's really dipping that kind of. I guess you can see that kind of ridge of the trough. I know that's like a pun, but the ridge of the trough, or the overall axis, is going to kind of just cross all the way across the kind of towards getting close to the Gulf Coast here, and that's going to continue. And as this system starts to strengthen, and as it now starts to move poleward instead of kind of towards the tropics, it's now going to kind of basically negatively tilted. So that's going to really strengthen the system even more. So this year we're going to be seeing these really strong winds as well. We'll be watching out for blizzard conditions, and these temperatures are going to be very brutal. I mean, this is going to be kind of swinging. That's how strong it is, kind of that trough. But let's look at the overall wind speed. Again, this is going to be a pretty strong system. So look about as it really dips pretty far to the south. You're going to be seeing it's going to be really strong system. You can kind of see how many wind barbs there are. If I can kind of zoom in, this is like 5 wind barbs on that. So that is showing you very strong winds with this system. So that's why we're probably going to be seeing a rather strong low pressure with this system. And it's going to bring, again, very strong winds. It's going to be the same possibly as well. Some severe weather ahead of this with a very pretty favorable conditions ahead of this in the southeast. We already have a day 4 50%. And this is a pretty dramatic system for sure. You can kind of just tell how it amplifies from Canada towards towards basically the Kentucky, Ohio area. And you can kind of see it, that kind of overall trough. You can kind of just see the big dip in the jet stream there, and it kind of really dips towards getting close to the Gulf Coast, which is something you typically see pretty early on in the winter season. But let's go ahead and see what this would mean for the actual precipitation, the overall actual weather setup. So, like I said, we're going to be seeing a storm today, or not today, but tomorrow in the Northeast. Same thing, you start seeing that kind of more weaker storm, but meager storm across the Rockies, where we have those advisories, and then it's going to bring some snow on Thursday for the central United States, and by Thursday that's when I start seeing that kind of cold air really moving in. So you kind of have a pretty strong high pressure, or pretty strong higher pressure going across this area. We have 1,042 millibar high across Colorado, so it's going to kind of be remaining pretty dry and cold. While we're going to start seeing a lot of moisture coming off the Gulf Coast, and with this really kind of with this now trough becoming the lee of the Rocky Mountains, it's going to allow for a disturbance in pressure. So at that point, we're going to be seeing a low pressure developing. There's that low pressure kind of developing across Texas and Louisiana. And with that really cold there, you kind of see the kind of main high pressure system uh, kind of around here. That's going to be a main area of high pressure. But you're going to be seeing multiple areas of high pressure, including one in Kansas, one in Utah. And with this really strong higher pressure, it's going to kind of force this to be a pretty fast moving system. So there's that kind of snow developing with that colder air really right behind a rushing cold front, with low pressure developing with that moisture and kind of more muggy weather across the Gulf Coast. That's going to bring a pretty good setup by now practically Friday night. You're going to start seeing as you have that second low pressure up here across the Great Lakes, and then the other low pressure, you're going to be seeing kind of a cold front kind of just developing there. You have a kind of low pressure pre-front, and with that, you're going to be seeing a pretty widespread snowstorm developing on Friday night from Texas towards basically the upper northeast and the Adirondacks. So it's going to be a very large system, pretty thin at first because of the lack of moisture, but once that low pressure kind of really, said low pressure kind of finally kind of catches up and gets more inland, it's going to bring a lot more moisture further north. And as this obviously trough kind of amplifies a lot more, we're going to get some more cold air. So this is going to allow for a more quicker transformation from rain to snow. And look how far south that snow gets according to the GFS. Getting that far south, that's just near Jackson, Mississippi. And this is March 12th we're talking about. And this is a very significant story. It kind of reminds me of that kind of, it really reminds me of that Christmas 2020 snowstorm. This structure of this storm just reminds me of that kind of quite a bit here. And again, this would be something you typically would see in maybe late December, January, or February, but definitely not the most common. But it has been obviously seen before. This is not historic, but this is not the most common year to year basis storm at this time of the year. But I mean, typically, if you get a good storm on the East Coast in March, it would be like a full on nor'easter, kind of a kind of a full on nor'easter, but not including kind of Nashville or Huntsville or whatever. But yeah, really pretty gonna get pretty far south this snow, and look how amplified that low pressure is already at 997 millibars, and that's just because you're gonna be seeing kind of that really strong trough here. That's gonna really amplify the surface, a low level convergence and upper level divergence. So you are gonna be seeing pretty much a really good setup in the atmosphere. But yes, Georgia, the Appalachian Mountains, all the way up towards Lake Erie. You're gonna be seeing some very intense snow on Saturday, early morning. And those temperatures will be cold, and then by Saturday afternoon, this low pressure continues to really amplify it, and the nines now hitting the 70s on the pressure, and it's gonna allow for a very, and I mean a very intense nor'easter here. So it is still 4 to 5 days out wherever you are, but this does have the potential to be a pretty significant snowstorm. It doesn't look like we have any. Let's actually look at the actual setup here. Let's go to North America. Let's see here. So it doesn't look like we have really any blocking or any omega blocking up here with the high pressure. So this would be a pretty, I'd say a rather quick system. So there's not like a huge high pressure sitting near Newfoundland. So this could be a bit quicker of a nor'easter. And here's the European. European's a pretty monster model too. So there's that low pressure, and it has it kind of developing pretty significant compared to the GFS, having snow all over kind of the Ozarks, across Arkansas, the Missouri area. And it already has a lot more moisture than the GFS early on. And this is going to allow for it to become a monster snowstorm. So if this were to happen, this would be a just absolutely insane March snowstorm for these areas. I mean, there you see the high pressure right on Missouri. So it's basically right on that snowstorm. So it's going to really amplify that low pressure a good bit. And this would allow for some really good snow for areas like Tuscaloosa, maybe even get some snow. Atlanta might even get some snow from this. So it's going to be a close one to watch, because you're going to be seeing a pretty sharp you're going to be seeing a sharp gradient between the temperatures here. And if we have time in the video, I will show you guys. So this will be a very kind of this will be like a system where you see like 1 inch on one side of the highway and a foot on the other side of the highway. That's kind of a more exaggeration, but there is a chance that this will be a setup like in the deep southeast specifically, where the temperatures are going to be a lot warmer pre-storm than the northeast, where like you might see like a trace in one part of the county, and then you go in other part of the county, you might get 4 inches. So this could definitely be reasonable, and who knows? Hopefully that doesn't happen with me because I'm kind of right on that border there between the rain. And that's the thing where I suck about where it sucks being in northeast Georgia, not northwest Georgia, because the cold front takes longer to catch up. But there's that low pressure, 991 millibars, and a lot of this really it's like it's gonna be like not directly west. It's gonna be like a few 50 to 100, or yeah, maybe 50 to 70 miles behind that low pressure. We're gonna be seeing that snow because of how lagged that cold front is. That's just because it's such a fast moving system because of that really strong, with that really overall strong upper level high. But there's that really intense nor'easter we're talking about. That can be very intense nor'easter. I mean, this could definitely be a good way to end the winter season or official winter season, even though I'm pretty sure official weather spring started March 1st. But here's the overall snow accumulation. I mean, it's a little bit unreliable because you have that little storm tomorrow, which will be bringing like 2 to 3 inches, but it's not gonna really mess up with the severity of this because you can just tell how it amplifies a lot from the Appalachians towards northeast. So this could be a pretty intense. And like I said though, look at this gradient. Let's go a little bit more zoomed in. So there's not really too much going on for the kind of Texas part of the storm. Maybe get a few inches near Texas, but that's still really uncertain. But if we go towards now kind of the let's go to the Ohio Valley. So you can just see the gradient here. I mean, look at one part of DC, for example. If you go south of DC, actually, let's do a different example. What could we do? What could we do? What could we do? So I mean, you could just look at where could I look? Okay, let's do DC. So DC, like just east of DC, is like 2.5 inches, and then west of DC is like closer to 6 inches, and then just few miles west on the high elevation you get over 8 inches. But you're missing a pretty strong gradient here for sure. I mean, look, that snow could get maybe a trace, who knows, an inch across some portion of the deep southeast according to GFS, but the Europeans a lot more, and I mean a lot more aggressive. But if we look at the northeast though, let's go towards let's just go to the east in general, the east. So maybe seeing some rain. This could be a monster snowstorm to end the northeast winter season. Get maybe a foot, who knows, maybe 2 feet, maybe even more, kind of across that far west pass. So in this case, for areas like Boston, New York City, and those coastal cities, you're gonna want to see this really go pretty far west or pretty far east because that freezing line, uh that kind of 492 line you always want to see, or 540 line you always want to see, is going to be way further west. So this is going to be a kind of storm you want to have pretty far east to guarantee some storm or some snow. I mean, you probably will get snow, but if you follow GFS, but it's kind of to the point where you get it a little bit once it gets towards you, and when it passes you, it's going to be nothing. But let's look at the European really quickly here, and then we'll wrap up the video. So here's the European. You can see a notable difference specifically across the Ozarks, and be seeing like a foot or half a foot difference in some areas. But just look at this with the European being further east. We can look at the European real quick, the track. So the European's low pressure, like right here at what hour is this? This is hour 105. And then let's go back to the US map. And then at 105, look where the GFS is. It's right here. So it's a pretty noticeable difference. And the European's a little bit slower. So it will give time for that cold front to catch up. So, but yeah, this is just a monster round from the European. I mean, we're talking about like a widespread area over a foot. So this is definitely still not completely certain, but we are getting a better idea of this. And I hope you guys enjoyed my first video back, and see you guys later.